On a scale of 1 to 10.
That's got to be a 1, right? How could you give that a 2? What?
Hold on. Let me try to justify that. Let me try to justify it too.
Okay, give me a
Um,
2. Welcome back to Automatic Win for episode 2 of She-Hulk. Just dropped. Just watched it a time and a half. Just want to put a bullet in my mouth and hope the other guy doesn't spit it out because, oh my goodness. I'm bored out of my mind. We were downgraded to just 21 minutes of runtime, down from 30 in the series premiere, which is pretty disappointing. When you look at the scenes in this episode that we're about to talk about, there's an abundance of man-hating in this episode. Do not be disappointed because if you came here to hear about, that type of content being in the show, it's here. It's here in a handful of scenes in this short 20-minute episode. We start out with a news story recapping the attack that happened in the courtroom that was inflicted by a influencer, a superpowered influencer.
yeah.
I would love to know, you pause it right here.
I know she's in the comics, Titania. I
As an
think her name is.
influencer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
That's
no
disgusting.
idea about her other than that.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that like she is a She-Hulk villain, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to know how it works with the Sokovia Accords in effect, with super-powered beings just being influencers, well-known influencers on the internet.
Yeah.
And she's in court for something, right? Some crime that she committed. So it's like the Sokovia Accords aren't a thing, I guess. I'm not sure when they were abolished, but you get this news story with a man objectifying her instantly with a report of a man on the scene who says that she was there's this girl, right? Pretty decent looking. And she turned into a Hulk. Like a She-Hulk? It's terribly executed. It's terribly acted.
So weird.
I'm sure everybody listening to this has watched the news. You've never seen anything like this on the news. It's terribly done. The next scene is Jen and Nikki going to a bar. We're 30 seconds in and we're running into issues in the universe.
It's just immediate confusion. And you're like, wait,
Yep.
what? Why? And Jen is wearing a hoodie with a skirt.
Yeah,
It's really
so
confusing.
we're supposed to believe that after everything that happened at the courtroom, in the courtroom, Jen ripped her outfit, so she borrowed a hoodie or found a hoodie. She donned a hoodie with her skirt and went to the bar with all of her work colleagues instead of going home and changing. She went to the bar with all of her lawyer friends in a hoodie instead of going home and changing first.
Yeah. And this is like obviously hours later, so why wouldn't she change?
Right. It's at night now, like
If she wants to be perceived as this professional lawyer, but she decides to just don a hoodie, I guess. And
yeah.
It's just weird.
It's strange. Everybody in the bar is chanting She-Hulk. It doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to believe in universe that the people in the bar know that Jen is approaching the bar, even though they don't at all. There's no way for them to at all. There's nobody outside of the bar that sees her. Everybody inside is just chanting She-Hulk. And there's well over 150 people in this bar, maybe 150. The bar is packed. So already none of this makes sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So they're outside, and because they're chanting She-Hulk, Nikki convinces her to turn into She-Hulk before she walks in. And that's just so weird. They're all like cheering, yeah, for no reason at all.
And of course, Jen is basking in the attention that she's getting because, as we learn by her character, that's pretty much what she's all about. Everything that she does is for attention. She in one moment pretends that she doesn't want to be She-Hulk, and in the next, she's embracing it and basking in the attention that she's getting. So it's kind of confusing. She stays in She-Hulk form in the bar and just starts downing whiskeys. And then Smiles comes up to her and he's like, "Oh man, that was a low blow bringing superpowers into the game to undercut me. It doesn't make any sense." He says it was unsportsmanlike, but they're on the same team representing the same firm. They're not like competing against each other. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then he points over to a girl that points off screen to a girl and says, "There's a hot chick over there. I'm going to go talk to it." Every second that this guy is on screen, he says something beyond sexist, like
Yeah.
talking about women as if they are not even human beings, which, I've heard so many people in my life call women it. Just kidding. It's never happened. I've never heard anybody say that before. It's completely ridiculous, and just like everything in this show, far-fetched and overdramatic to display this misogyny that we all have to deal with from the patriarchy in our day-to-day lives. It's pretty ridiculous. So Jen and Nikki are having a non-conversation where they say things that don't make any sense when they're speaking to each other. When their boss comes up to them and is like, "Hey, Jen, can you turn back into Jen so that we can have a serious conversation?" So She-Hulk turns back into Jen and is immediately trash drunk and she collapses. We talked about this a little bit. I don't get it. I don't get with her blood being the same, whether she's She-Hulk or Jen, how the alcohol is affecting her. If it's like all of a sudden in her bloodstream, shouldn't her blood be the same? Banner bled onto her. Like, is there less gamma in her blood?
Right, he bled onto her as Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but it just doesn't seem like it makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense based off of what they showed us.
Right, she turns into Jen, and so her body unmetabolizes the alcohol, and she's just like instantly just shit-faced drunk.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's really bad acting. Like, let's be honest. Jen drunk acting is terrible.
Yeah. Ugh.
It just, I need you to like loop scenes until we get through them because there's a lot to talk about in them. Like this. So her boss gives her the reasoning for firing her that it is a bad look for their law firm to keep her on board when the juries in the cases are going to side with her and have bias towards her because she's a superhero. Which we talked about and decided that actually doesn't make a lot of sense because the law firm is firing a literal superhero who saved a bunch of lives in a courtroom. The press and the free publicity and the amount of people in California that would be banging down your door to hire you to represent them in court because you have a superhero working there. She doesn't have to represent in court.
Mm-hmm.
But the show completely ignores this to pretend that if she works at this law firm, that she's going to be a courtroom lawyer. It doesn't make any sense, really. It makes sense that she couldn't be because of bias, jury bias.
Yeah.
Obviously, she couldn't be. The reason that the show gives is almost clever.
It would almost make sense if they were like, hey, you're being pulled from this case,
Yeah.
at least from your position, because the jurors obviously look at you different now. And so they're going to side with you because you
Yeah.
saved their lives. But the way that he comes in and he's like, hey, you're fired,
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel
Yeah,
like it makes sense.
the fact that they totally ignore the fact that they have a superhero working for them in their office that is going to bring them so much business, and then they kick her out. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever if you try to apply this kind of logic to the real world. It's completely silly. So Jen goes on a really boring short montage of her looking for jobs, and she is turned down repeatedly. We can probably skip over a lot of this, including the family visit. Jen's turned down from like 4 law firms, and they all say, "Oh, we don't want a freak sideshow to go on." It's completely ridiculous. You have a superhero by any understanding coming to your law firm and asking for a job there, and the idea that you would turn them away because you don't want publicity is ridiculous. So it's a terrible montage. It's really short. We're only like a couple minutes in, and she's lost her job after saving a bunch of lives, and she goes to visit her family. Her family are a bunch of dorks that have never talked to a human being before in their lives. It comes off as being weird. She's the only normal person in the family, but
Yeah.
these are the people that raised her. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. No, it's so weird.
The dad is all right. He's an all right character. He tries to touch base with her to see how she's doing, and she talks over him for like 45 seconds.
Yeah, I was super
While he tries
surprised
to
by
ask
that.
her how she's doing and give her some fatherly advice.
Yeah.
It comes off as if it's supposed to be a joke, but it's not really funny.
Hmm.
Interrupting people isn't really funny.
Especially when you do it this much.
Yeah, when she's doing it in every second scene that she's in, it comes off as really weird. And so this character, because you're supposed to believe that she's a character because she doesn't actually show it on screen, in Jen, says so many ridiculous things like, maybe I should have let that desk crush the jury so that my life would have stayed normal. This is your main character. This is supposed to be the good guy who is regretting saving lives because it caused her a little bit of inconvenience.
Yeah. I don't know what this world is where people don't want to be superheroes. I mean, first we
Yeah.
have Spider-Man, where he whines and complains throughout all 3 movies about being a superhero and how it sucks
Pretty much.
because he wants to have a normal life. And then now you have Jen doing the same thing. It's like, bro, give me some superpowers.
Well, I think in Homecoming he's a little bit better in embracing because he wants to be an event, like he wants to be like Tony, he wants to be an Avenger.
In the
and
first
then,
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Far From Home just goes off the rails with this like, oh, I want to run away from responsibility. I just want to go kiss my girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's not your girlfriend, but like, okay. And then you have this comes off as really weird because Miss Marvel just came out, and her whole deal is that she idolized Captain Marvel and wanted to be a superhero and magically got her wish. I really don't get it. It flip-flops back and forth, and you're supposed to believe in this world where you could have instant success for the rest of your life and be invulnerable and live an exciting life in the 0.00001% of the entire Earth's population of being a superhero and getting to live this life. And you're like, no, but I wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I,
Sounds a lot more exciting.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Wow, we are just really burning through this. Yeah, guys, the episode's almost over pretty much.
Yeah.
It's halfway over. So, the next scene, Jen's at the bar drinking beer by herself. I don't know why, because she's sad. I don't know why she doesn't
she's
drink in
drinking
her
whiskey.
apartment. You know, drink some wine in your apartment.
She's
Why are
just
you at
doing
the
guy
bar
stuff.
by yourself drinking beer? Yeah, like a dude. When she is approached at, like, what point of night is this where this successful businessman is coming to the bar that she goes to give her a job offer?
Why is everyone doing things at the bar? She got fired at the bar, and then this guy comes to the
They
bar while
celebrate at
she's
the
drunk.
bar,
Yeah.
yeah. Celebrate at the bar, got fired at the bar, got a new job at the bar.
I'm going to the bar.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll see you there. How do we even just explain who this guy is? He
We haven't heard of him or seen him before.
he was in the courtroom
Right.
representing the opposition.
So we saw him for a second, and then he comes in and says that he's the big man at
Big cheese.
GHSNK or something. I have no
Some
idea.
stupid name.
I'm sure it's in the comics. People are like, no, it's
Yeah,
It's
it's
G-
good because it's in the comics. So he comes in here. He offers her a job at his new law firm. We've all seen the trailers. We knew this was going to happen. It's kind of hard to explain who this guy is. He's just a big cheese with this law firm. He offers her a job. She's like, "Are you joking?" He's like,
I never do.
I never joke. He says, I never joke. I don't get why when somebody comes up to you and offers you a job, you would say, are you joking?
Yeah.
Like, clearly
like,
not.
aha, gotcha. You idiot.
So he just says, show up at our building tomorrow. He doesn't give her a time, a salary offer, anything like that. So I guess she'll just show up. Maybe she'll look up their opening hours online and then show up at that point. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So then he just leaves. He doesn't sit down and have a drink with her and give her the job offer. He just walks. He goes to her bar, offers her a job, and then leaves.
Yeah. Buys her a drink, offers her a job,
Yeah.
says show up tomorrow, whenever you want, and then he just walks out. And
So then she shows up at the law firm.
she
The
pushes
door
the
pushes
pull door.
pushes
So
a pull
quirky.
door to get inside. Oh, it's so funny. Isn't that relatable, guys? She's walking like a duck.
Yeah.
She approaches the man again. He's sitting there waiting for her. He's probably like, "Why are you so late? It's noon already.
Yeah.
I told you to." She probably said, "Well, you didn't tell me a time to get here."
She's like, well, it's that last glass of whiskey you bought me. Set me over the edge.
Yeah. So he tells her, "You are required to be She-Hulk while you work here." So she has to transform. She transforms into She-Hulk. This is the second time. This will be the last time.
See, like the green hue
In this
on him?
episode,
It's
yeah.
so weird.
I definitely saw that in another scene as well. When she enters the bar,
It's like a
there's
shade
like a green
glowing.
hue
Yeah.
on Nikki.
It's so
when
weird.
she goes in.
Whose idea was that?
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
So she immediately goes into complaining about how she has to be She-Hulk while she's working at this law firm, and says that's the only reason why she's there. They only want her there because she is She-Hulk and not because of all of her amazing qualifications.
Duh.
Yeah, no freaking shit. So she's complaining about being the head of the superhero law division in
Yeah.
this company that appointed the head of the company because she thinks that it should be based off of her skill as a lawyer and not the fact that she is a She-Hulk and a lawyer. So she's bitching about it. It's kind of silly. She's been looking for a job for weeks at this point, we're assuming, and has had absolutely zero success, and then has been handed what has to be a multi-million-dollar position
Yeah.
at a
Absolutely.
huge company.
I mean, did you see her office?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
she just complains
She's
about it
making racks on racks.
and points at a room full of white men. Were there any?
No.
No, there were not. Only white, old white men being successful in this room that she refers to as a bunch of dodos.
Yeah.
These dodos couldn't understand what it's like to be me and have to live like this and have their first day be in this kind of position that they've put me in. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So then we get to the pooping.
No.
She was showed to her corner office where Nikki is already there
She's just
waiting
there
for her.
Like, what does she do?
She's a paralegal, so she stands around.
So,
I don't know. We'll see if she does anything in this show.
yeah, it's just so weird. Like, she showed to her nice big corner office, super nice, and then there's Nikki just in there waiting for her for some reason.
Yes. So
Like-
Jen got her this job, right? Jen got her this job.
Nikki.
How did Nikki get in the building
Right.
without Jen showing up?
Right.
She works for Jen.
Yeah.
She's Jen's paralegal. How did she show up to her office before Jen showed up? It
And when
doesn't
did
make
she
any
find
sense.
out about it? Because Jen found out about the job last night at the bar.
Why could they have not showed up together?
Yeah.
Why didn't they write it like that?
Would have made more sense.
They're a team.
But that's not what the show does. It doesn't.
They're a
make sense.
team going to work to a first day of work at a new job. Why would they not go together?
Yeah.
I don't get why they write it like this. I guess so Jen can break the fourth wall and talk to the camera about how terrible white men are.
Yeah.
So Nikki's freaking out about how great their new office is. Jen is being a bitch, frowning and being like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, my life sucks so bad being in this literally handed this huge job." And then what do we call this guy? Muffins? Probably cheese and crackers. I don't know. Some guy comes in and he's like, "Hey ladies,
Oh,
Pug. He's Pug. Oh my goodness.
And
He
you don't have to
also
give him a
works
name because they gave him such a stupid
in
name.
the superhuman law division. And he brought them a gift basket. Oh my goodness. And they immediately
They
treat
treat him like
he's
a little
gay.
puppy.
Yeah.
The way she's like, "Aw." Look at this. Hold on.
Yeah. Well,
It's like, what?
I guess that's what they do in real life.
Yeah.
But he gives them a map of the best bathrooms for pooping.
As you do.
So I'm really curious as to why every white man that they come into contact with is immediately obviously a terrible person, but when Pug is on the scene, they're immediately warm and welcoming to him.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. It's not really consistent, but I guess you could argue that his demeanor is much more friendly. And that's why their reaction was like that. I don't really get it.
Super weird.
Man, I promise you, we're taking a long time to get through this. The episode is not that long. It's 20
No.
minutes. Not a lot happens in it.
So he gives her the pooping map, and then they're like, "Aw, thanks." And then it cuts to her in a meeting with the big boss.
Big cheese. So we saw this scene in the trailer. He wants her to represent Abomination in his case to be freed from prison, basically on parole. She says, oh, I can't do that because it's a conflict of interest, blah, blah, blah. We've already seen this. She says that she wants to speak to him and goes to the prison where he is being held. So this scene doesn't really make sense. The next shot. The next shot is her walking up to the prison in She-Hulk form. I don't know if we're led to believe that she walked there. Did she drive in her car as She-Hulk? They tell her at the gate, no superhuman or superpowers in the prison facility. Obviously.
Yeah.
So she changes into gem form. She goes in there. The guard is telling her about how dangerous Abomination is.
For a full minute, he's like, "Oh, it's so dangerous."
It's so dangerous. Oh my
we're like
goodness.
rolling our eyes, like, "Oh, great, he's gonna be a goofball."
Obviously. Jen's trying to be a wisecrack and tell some stupid jokes. And then they get into the prison, have this short, nonsensical conversation with Abomination where he tells her about how he's a changed man and all the past is in the past, blah, blah, blah. He's very nice and sincere with her. And then the conversation, there's not really a lot to it.
No, the one thing though is that like he did a really good job. I feel like. Like I was very intrigued watching him.
Yeah, the
even though-
actor definitely gives a really good delivery for the dialogue that's coming out of his mouth. It's not very well written clearly when you're sitting here reading the words, but his delivery is really, really, really good.
It's probably the best scene in the episode.
Yeah, I
Even
mean,
though they tried to like completely
comparatively, when you're dealing with Jen and Bruce pretending like they give a crap about the set that they're on and the lines that they're given, this guy definitely brings it and gives a really convincing performance. So I guess I'm more intrigued to see more from him. I didn't really expect that. I thought he was going to be terrible. But because the actor's delivery is so good, there's definitely more to this and what we're going to see in future episodes compared to what we've gotten with a bunch of really boring characters with really bad dialogue and really poor delivery. I guess the next one's the last scene, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, we're already there. Next scene, Jen is back in her apartment reading something. We don't see what it is, some kind of file. She calls Bruce, and this was a surprise to me because I thought he was going to be gonzo from the rest of the show except for a phone call. But I didn't think they would actually show him and animate him in Hulk form. I thought he would just be on the phone or be in like FaceTime or something like that.
Right, that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, to make it a little easier for them to animate the scenes. And she talks over him for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And he tells her, "Oh, you're going to take the case. It's fine. I let bygones be bygones with Abomination, and I'm fine with you."
Emil Blonsky.
Yeah. And I'm happy for you to take the case. And then he says, "I'm going to be a little preoccupied anyway." And then the camera zooms out, and he's in the spaceship that sent them careening off of the road. And he flies off into space with no explanation to Jen, his cousin, about where he's going. He doesn't know. I guess we don't know what he's doing. But it's pretty silly and unrealistic that he wouldn't tell his closest of kin that he is leaving the planet.
Right.
All for the sake of the scene in the show. That it's a big reveal that
he
he's
has
leaving.
no idea what's going on, and she is She-Hulk now, and he's like, I'm gonna be a little busy as he's jumping into hyperspeed.
What if she
to
needs
go
him
somewhere.
as?
Right.
What if her
or what
powers
if he needs her?
are out of control? True, and it's all done for the sake of this scene, and it doesn't make any sense in universe. Jen then calls Big Cheese and tells him the good news that she is in fact going to be taking the job for him, and he says, "Well, that's great, but have you seen the news?" She turns on the news. And we get this scene from Shang-Chi with Abomination in the cage, fighting with Wong.
Yeah.
And then the episode ends. So we're led to believe that Abomination broke out of prison and then ended up in this fighting club. It's funny. I think they call it an underground fighting club, and it's actually in a skyscraper.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a joke they do in Shang-Chi too. I'm not sure. And that's the end of the episode. It's freaking boring. Nothing happens. The only thing that happens is Jen gets fired. She gets a new job. She accepts the job. And she meets Abomination. And he breaks out of prison. All that happens off screen.
Right.
Him breaking out of prison. Anything eventful happening happens off screen.
Right.
So I guess this is happening at the same time as Shang-Chi, even though it came out much, much, much later.
Yeah, I guess that's weird.
We get another 7 minutes of credits.
Let's go with this.
Which is definitely necessary.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
That's got to be a 1, right? How could you give that a 2?
Hold on. Let me try to justify that. Let me try to justify it too.
Okay. Give me a 2.
There's Emil
I'll take a 2.
Blonsky.
Okay, Emil.
I think he gives it a 2.
Yeah, Emil is definitely pulling his weight. He's bringing us to a 2. But is he not the 1?
Yeah.
He's bringing us
that's a
up
good
from a
point.
0. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
a 1 is like it exists, right? I would rather this did not exist.
True.
I would have rather done anything else with my time than watch that.
Yeah. So hold on. What would you give episode 1? Because now it looks like a 10 out of 10.
I would give episode 1 a 2.
Really?
Yeah. And then I would probably give this a 1. The conversation about the acting of Emil was interesting, but it only came about the second time we watched it. Because at the time it was still so boring and overwhelming in an underwhelming way. That we kind of just glossed over it. But I don't think this 1 minute out of the 20 gives it a full point.
Yeah.
I can't justify
Yeah.
that.
No, I agree. I think it's a 1 out of 10.
Well, that was our really painful review of episode 2 of She-Hulk. Maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe not. Hopefully they give us something to mildly entertain us.
Yeah.
We need more man hatred.
There wasn't enough in
Yeah.
this episode, actually.
Just to keep the blood above room temperature.